Hey all, my name is Erin Smith. This video is for CJ210, Chapter 13 discussion. In this video, I will be discussing the case of Winston versus Lee. Let's get to the story. So in 1982, Rudolph Lee was attempting to rob the owner of a market whose name was Ralph Watkinson as he was locking up his shop. So Lee was approaching Watkinson, and Watkinson saw him out of like the side of his eye or whatever, and Watkinson saw that Lee had a gun. Watkinson decided to draw his own gun, and the two ended up shooting each other. They both were wounded. Lee managed to run away. Ralph Watkinson, he called the cops. The cops came. They transported him to the nearest hospital. A few minutes later passed by. The cops report to a shooting, and a man was there. The man happened to be Lee. They saw that Lee's bleeding and stuff. They took Lee to the hospital. They took Lee to the same hospital that Watkinson was at. So I'm going to stop there and I'm going to mention how I think that this could have been a show up, which is one of the identification procedures that cops use in order for a victim to identify the suspect as the suspect. In my research and my findings, I don't see anything that says that this indeed was a show up. But if you put two and two together, you can kind of tell that part of this shows that the cops use this incident to indeed do a show up. So yeah, back to the story. Watkinson saw Lee, and Watkinson in fact identified Lee as the suspect, as the person who shot him, as the person who attempted to rob him, all that. So later, Lee was questioned and Lee was arrested on a few accounts, of course, for shooting and attempted robbery, a few other things as well. Later on, the police in the Commonwealth of Virginia, they filed a motion to retrieve the bullet from Lee's body. As long as the retrieval process be non-invasive and it be no anesthesia used. So I'm going to stop right there. They only needed to file a motion because this is invading Lee's Fourth Amendment rights. So the Fourth Amendment states that the right of people to be secure in their persons, and it shall not be violated. And in fact here, the fact that they are trying to retrieve a bullet from Lee's own physical body, they are invading his own persons. So that's why they need a warrant and a motion just to retrieve it. So Lee appealed the motion, and that motion was denied, and then Lee continued fighting, and he sued the district court for an illegal search under the Fourth Amendment. And then, so during that trial, new evidence found that what was supposed to be no anesthesia and non-invasive was actually going to use anesthesia and be invasive. So at first they were the original file, the original motion was only supposed to be pretty much like no anesthesia is used, can be non-invasive. But now they're saying that they have to put him to sleep. They are going to use anesthesia. It's going to be invasive. It's going to be more than what it was originally set out for. So the court eventually, they found that to be unconstitutional, and they approved the appeal. The court believed that the privacy of Lee's body, in this case, was more important than the want for that one bullet. So in this case, Lee won. His his Fourth Amendment rights won. His body won. His persons won. Um, and this shows how the Supreme Court balances the rules of an individual and the rules of society. In this case, the society didn't really need it as much as the individual needed it. So the individual won. Um, what one would take from this is that unless, like I just said, pretty much, unless it's extremely needed, it's a dire need for that, for that thing in that person's body, that evidence in that person's body, then the person is always going to win under the Fourth Amendment. They're always going to win. Thank you.